I came across a video with questions for atheists, and since that's my thing, I figured I'd do my best to answer them. If you want to, feel free to watch the original video, play along, see what answers you can give, where I was right, where I was wrong, and where I didn't explain myself very well. The original video has a bit of padding, so I just tried to extract the essentials.
These are just honest questions that I would like my atheist friends to struggle with, that I think they'll have a hard time answering. Should we just jump in and do them?
Let's do it.
Number one.
Yeah, if there is nothing immaterial, how can absolute morality exist? We have nothing really to guide us. If we are just a bunch of molecules put together, then we just basically just exist for this short time. And it's like, there's nothing to guide us.
I get my morality from myself. For instance, I don't want harm to come to me. I think being harmed is a bad thing. I live in a society, and I know other people are similar to me. If I don't want harm to come to me, then it makes sense that I should treat others the same way and not harm them.
So if humans all agree that rape is wrong, then rape is wrong. But what if the authorities, or more humans than not, said that rape was okay? Like, what basis do you, outside of yourself, what basis do you have for claiming something's right or wrong?
I believe rape is wrong because it harms somebody. I don't refrain from raping people because it's illegal. I don't rape because not causing harm is part of the morality I've decided is important. I don't need something outside myself to know that certain actions are wrong because I have empathy for others, something that has developed in us as a social species. I make the decision that since I don't want to be harmed, I should not harm others.
Because we know it's wrong.
Yeah.
We know that intrinsically rape is wrong, period. We know it's always wrong.
No, it hasn't always been considered wrong. Sadly, in other times and places, rape has been accepted. I don't say, well, that must have been okay because it was condoned by the majority. I say that the culture was wrong then, according to my beliefs about what is right and wrong.
Yeah.
Like, we know it's not okay because there's something outside of us that tells us this isn't okay.
No, as mentioned, my morality comes from not wishing harm to come to others. Yes, I may have been taught the concepts my morality is based on from other people, but I decide to act on it on my own.
But if you're an atheist, this is my question. If there's nothing immaterial, if there's nothing outside of us informing this, how can the absolute morality exist?
Because I don't think objective morality exists. Our morals are subjective, depending on the situation we find ourselves in.
Now, the second question for the atheist.
I act according to what? To what you feel in the moment?
I act according to the morals and judgments that I have decided constitute my principles. I have come to the conclusions as to what I think is right and wrong, and try to live my life according to those principles. Now, I can admit that I could be incorrect in that. If someone can show me evidence that my morals are mistaken, that an action I take, for example, causes more harm to another than it prevents, then I will need to adjust and reevaluate my priorities, and I am willing to change them.
I'm going to suggest that you only act according to electrical impulses or chemical reactions, and you don't really react according to what you feel or what you think.
Those impulses and chemical reactions are what we feel and think. We can trace emotions to different balances of chemicals and electrical impulses in the brain. So what if we have a clinical reason for it? We're still feeling these emotions, even if we know what's causing them.
If you had enough knowledge about the molecules, you'd be able to predict exactly what I'll eat for breakfast tomorrow,
Right.
Based on what direction it's been going.
That's not untrue. That's not untrue. If you had a knowledge of every particle in the universe, including the virtual particles that can theoretically pop in and out of existence, and could see how each one would react to each other one, and what those reactions to the reactions would cause, and how exactly each of those reactions would influence decisions in a brain, then yes, you could predict just about anything, even what somebody had for breakfast the next day. But the amount of information needed, and the amount of chaos affecting everything, makes it next to impossible for us to work something that precise out. That's why weather predictions beyond 5 days are hard to make. The amount of chaos prevents us from working it out. Damn butterflies causing all those hurricanes.
If we are all just chemical reactions and no spirit, how does free will exist? And the answer is it doesn't. I mean, and this is my third question to my atheist friends. How do you believe in free will? Why do you believe in free will?
I don't. I can come to independent decisions that I feel were made by me, but in the end, they are, at the most basic, chemical and electrical impulses in my brain, which are governed by the laws of physics. I can't say that I have free will, because on that level, I don't believe I do. But, just because we have an understanding of the reasons for our actions, that doesn't diminish them at all.
Right. With that, it's like you have a big room of bouncy balls, and if you throw a ball into the room, all those balls will react according to physics.
That's good.
And that's all you'll get.
That's very good. That's very good.
No, that isn't very good. A better example would be throwing balls at a Rube Goldberg-esque device made of other balls, where the incoming balls would be the input coming to our mind from our senses, hitting one thing and causing a reaction, and having the machine, our brains, react accordingly. If I see something dangerous coming towards me, my brain takes that information and reacts, usually with either a fight or flight response. Our brains can be likened to machines that have been slowly built up by natural selection over an inordinate amount of time. No divine being is required.
Okay, number 4. What do you do with prophecy in Scripture, specifically messianic prophecy for Jesus as fulfillment of the predicted Jewish Messiah?
Wow, the claims about Jesus in the Bible correspond to predictions made earlier in the Bible? Who would have guessed? And that means Star Wars must be true, because the prophecy that Anakin Skywalker would bring balance of the Force came true when he threw the Emperor down the conveniently placed shaft in the throne room, which is awesome because I've always wanted a lightsaber. Sweet.
I mean, I guess we could. Would that all come down to the prediction of how we knew that Jesus was going to be the Messiah and fulfill all those prophecies? Because we knew that his bag of cells were all going to bounce in a certain direction, and so we wrote it down.
I suppose that's the direction you'd have to take.
Right.
Someone was able to see all these molecules lined up, but do you know what the odds are of that?
Yeah, a bit of a straw man there. Nobody claims that all the prophecies were fulfilled by Jesus and still denies God. The most likely explanation is the stories attributed to Jesus were made up to conform to the earlier prophecies.
Do you just say, well, I think they wrote that scripture after the fact? Because if that's your answer, it's not true.
Right.
They were all written before Jesus. All the prophecies were. Every scholar agrees. Even the scholars that don't like it agree.
Yes, the Old Testament was written before the New, but how do we know the claims about Jesus are true and not just fabricated to create a link to the prophecies? When it was being codified, it is not implausible to think that the stories in the Bible could have been exaggerated or, more likely, made up completely.
Number 5. Do you find wisdom in the Bible? If so, at what point does the wisdom turn to foolishness?
If you accept Jesus when he says love your enemies, and when he says turn the other cheek, and when he says that we should all love each other in the way that we want to be loved, or treat each other in the way we want to be treated, and you're saying, yes, Jesus is right, Jesus is right, Jesus is right, Jesus is right, and then Jesus says, and by the way, I am the Lord, and you go, well, come on, man.
That's going too far.
That's just too...
I like the story of the Good Samaritan. Helping other people out is a decent thing to do. Great moral. But I think it's foolish to believe the stories in the Bible actually happened, especially things that go against our knowledge of the world without any evidence. Like, for example, the earth being spoken into existence 6,000 years ago, or a flood covering the entire world except for one family who had a breeding stock of every kind of animal on a wooden boat, or that someone raised himself and others from the dead. You can have fictional stories, like Aesop's fables, that have good morals, but that doesn't mean the stories themselves actually happened. I can easily accept a moral teaching without believing the character in the story actually exists. Catch-22 has some important things to say about the madness and futility of war and bureaucracy, and references real events and places, but that doesn't mean I believe Yossarian actually existed.
Number 6. Imagine you came across a perfectly working quantum computer in the middle of the jungle with a self-powered contained nuclear reactor. Would you believe that it happened by accident over 1 million years? And why do you believe we came out of about by accident or chance?
Yeah, seriously.
Is this supposed to be a knock against evolution? What you're neglecting in this example is the method of reproduction, change, and selection that biological evolution requires. Living beings reproduce, and occasionally mutations appear because of imperfect reproduction. If these mutations are beneficial to the organism, it will survive and thrive, but if they're detrimental to the organism, it will die out. Over the billions of years of evolution, these small changes have added up, and that is why we have such complex bodies. What simpler machines did this computer come from? How do they reproduce, mutate, and select for beneficial mutations to eventually form this quantum computer you're talking about? If you can give me those, then I could concede how this computer could have arisen naturally, just like I understand how current biological organisms can develop from simpler ones over time.
Now, we are much more complicated than just a random body. We're much more complicated than just a quantum computer. Why do you think we came about by accident? Think about that.
Yeah.
Okay, evolution is not accidental. The mutations are random, yes, but natural selection, a decidedly non-random process, will select and pass on the mutations that are beneficial for the organism because it survives and has a better chance to breed. Mutations that are detrimental will be less likely to be passed on because the organism will have less of a chance to breed.
All right, what are we on?
Number 7?
Yes.
Is there anything in your experience that comes into existence without a cause? If not, what would the cause of the universe be?
Relating to the universe, as I said before, we don't know what caused it. I'm admitting ignorance here. We have evidence there was a massive expansion of heat and matter around 14 billion years ago, but we don't know what caused it. However, we don't have any evidence there was any kind of intelligent creator being. And if we were to claim it must have been an intelligent creator, that begs the question, who is the intelligent creator that created the intelligent creator that created our universe? And who created that one ad infinitum? And if any of these intelligent creators don't need an intelligence creator to create them, why do we assume the universe needs one?
All right, number 8.
Okay. If humankind is not ontologically different than animals, what would you say that you are superior or not?
Okay, but what are the implications of your belief if we're exactly the same as animals? Can you here's the part of the question. Can you enslave and harm the animals in any way?
Thinking one is superior is a judgment call. We do think we are superior from our point of view. We give ourselves value to other humans because as humans, we usually relate better to other humans. Conversely, anyone who's ever owned a cat quickly realizes that they know they're superior to humans and we're only here for their bidding. We are animals, ones that can reason and plan better than others, but on a fundamental biological level, we are animals. As social animals, we have a kinship to humans that doesn't usually extend to other animals. Since there is less of a connection to other animals, the harm principle that I live by is not as strong to non-human animals as it is to other humans. I still don't like to cause harm for no reason, but I'm more accepting of killing animals for food or using them in other ways that will help humans.
Hey, question number 9. If there is no eternity and no ultimate punishment for evil, why would we not technically allow all things? These questions are kind of running together
A little bit. This is a similar theme, right? So why wouldn't we allow people to do whatever? If there's no ultimate punishment, if there's not going to be a consequence for it, why shouldn't you be allowed to just do whatever you want?
Right.
Because even if there's no ultimate punishment, here and now we exist. And if I don't want harm to come to innocent people, we need to have limits on our freedom when it comes to harming others. We have laws in our society to prevent people who want to harm others from doing so and protect people living now. Yes, in the end it may not mean anything. The Earth and the human race at some point will cease to exist. But that doesn't mean that what we do here and now doesn't matter, at least for a little while.
All right, number 10, the final question.
Number 10, is it fair to allow a murderer or rapist to go unpunished? If not, why do you believe in the notion of fairness comes? Where do you believe that the notion of fairness comes from?
That's a good question, right? Is it fair to allow a murderer to go unpunished? Dave, what do you think?
No.
I don't think so either. I think they should get punished. But if you don't think they should go free, then where do you think that notion of fairness comes from?
Fairness comes from an understanding that people should be treated equally. I want everyone treated the same way I want to be treated, fairly. Those who do harm others, murderers and rapists, by definition cause harm, so they should be stopped from causing harm. And a punishment should exist as an example to prevent others from causing the same harm. As for criminals who get away, well, I'll give you the advice my parents gave me, and I gave my kids. Life is not always fair. Bad things happen to good people. Good things happen to bad people. Life isn't fair. But that's why I think we need to bring as much fairness into the world as we can. In a universe that doesn't care about us, it's up to us to care about each other.
Many people will get away with evil. Someone's going to commit murder and not get caught.
As much as I would like all criminals to be caught and punished, I know it's not always going to happen. Some will slip through the cracks and get away with their crimes unpunished. That doesn't mean I have to like it. And, as unfair as I think it is, that does not give any credibility towards the existence of a divine being who will punish those who did get away with crimes.
Would you agree, then, that it's unsatisfying to be an atheist, even if accurate?
Did you just admit you don't care what's true, just what makes you feel good and what's emotionally satisfying? When it comes to the reality of the universe, I don't care what is emotionally satisfying, I care about the truth, and I assume most people do as well. There's a reason why one of the villains of the Matrix is the one that would rather live a comfortable lie than a rough reality. And the reality is we have no evidence for a God, so I see no reason to believe in one. So, again, another list of questions, and these didn't cause me that much grief. I appreciate the attempt to try to convince others of your way of thinking, and I always enjoy the chance to test my convictions. As always, if anyone out there has something they think I should go over, or questions to ask, please send them my way.
This is just a question for you all. I'm really interested to know.
Right. Do you have any neighbors or friends who don't go to church? What do you think is the biggest reason for why they don't go? I want to know.
Why don't your friends or neighbors go to church?
Right.
Why not?
Seriously? In an episode directed to atheists, you ask why people don't go to church? The friends I have that don't go to church are unbelievers, so they wouldn't get anything from it. And the ones that do believe, well, as far as I know, they do go to church.